Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on tonight's main news. Let's look at the top stories. Police arrest Patriotic Front MANDEVU Member of Parliament Christopher SHAKAFUSWA. Civil society organizations reject some clauses in the public gathering bill. Traders in LUSAKA'S KAMWALA area urge government to repossess the land bought by an investor. In international headlines, thousands of Sudanese migrants stuck at border with Egypt. And in sports, CHIPOLOPOLO legends beat Barcelona legends. We have the details of these headlines shortly after the break.
The Standing in the Gap team, in conjunction with Francis Miles Ministries International, presents the Prayer Rally Crusade and Overnight, to be held at the Ground of Healing Word International Ministries in Ibex Hill from the 25th to the 26th of May 2023. Tagged Rendering the Heavens for National Revival. Don't forget, it's this Thursday, the 25th of May, time from 16 hours till 19 hours, and on Friday, the 26th of May, it's from 17 hours to 20 hours. Henceforth, we continue with an overnight prayer meeting from 20 hours to 06 hours in the morning. Speakers include Apostle Sunday, Pastor Wupesi Nyangwe, and Dr. Francis Miles. Featuring in music, Ephraim, Son of Africa, Christine and Tim Reason, Pastor Gift Kaputula, Minister Temwani, Pastor Washi, and many more. You can't afford to miss this. Admission is absolutely free. It's not over until God says it's over. It is fire for fire.
Thank you so much for joining us to present the news. My name is Louisia Nalupumbwe, and now the news in detail. Some Lusaka residents are concerned with the mushrooming of traditional leaders in the country, attributing them to the increase in the number of defilement cases in Zambia. The residents explained to Camnet News that some witch doctors in the country have persuaded various citizens, especially men, to engage in the vices with a view of amassing wealth. Meanwhile, Paralegal Alliance Network Executive Director Eugene Kabilika says moral decay in society has taken over, coupled with technological advancements, thus exposing people to vices. According to the statistics released by Zambia Police for the first quarter of 2023, a total of 701 cases of child defilement were recorded, compared to 540 cases of child defilement last year. Details are in this report.
According to the 2023 first quarter gender-based violence data analysis published by the Zambia Police, a total of 701 cases of child defilement were recorded, compared to 540 cases of child defilement during the period under review in 2022. Out of the 701 cases of defilement, 697 victims were girls and 4 were boys. While the illegal act is setting trends in today's society, some Lusaka residents have attributed the increasing cases of defilement in the country to the degenerating moral values and the mushrooming of traditional healers.
Using this one, you know, for somebody who is maybe above 30 to 40, 50, now to sleep with the child who is maybe 2 years. Sometimes, mostly from what we are getting from the society, these people mostly are cheated to say if you sleep with a minor, then at the end of the day you become rich. It's just to do with that. That is mostly what is causing that. Otherwise, again, the other reason is decaying morals in the society we're experiencing now. Because previously these things were not there. But today, these things we are seeing.
This journalist caught up with some residents who feel traditional healers should be strictly regulated, while parenting takes course as well. But a senior citizen, Whiton Nzima, believes the use of traditional means to amass wealth has taken men by storm.
So chintu chiruvide alo malwazi tulajengana pamadokota sibaba sonda sonda vaya balahumwati baba sonda sonda bambe kuti obulwazi bweyagumana ikuti nawa jana mwana munini alimwe banu balajengo kwamba kuti mbuli mbopengede lubono bobu kuti wajita mwana munini ulahambana kujana lubono eyintu yatunyonganya nga ndi mali titogala nchito togali kukalabya kukalawolo waniyeto koyin munkoma so togali kunga kutojata sleepers ngomuti wati titana mwaye mazubano nabayita kuti siringwe nawe yagali tigiga yini agali kunga mali manja ali mbwa janwala shupa kuti waja nolaja nanzila no ano mazuba bagomena byo mali cheyintu yimwajalo yeya kuti ko humbwa bamaga yintu abachemubona kuti imali yakala atuba abona mali ku muntu uji simali ulayanda no ayanda uyanda.
Meanwhile, Paralegal Alliance Network Executive Director Eugene Kabalika says moral decay in society has taken over and argues that the country's education systems do not provide for moral teachings.
Our education system processes people to think in a certain way, and the values of respect for one another are very minimally.
Vision Zambia Initiative Executive Director Namtula Sindila believes strengthening family moral values at family level is impactful.
What should be done is strengthening of family and moral values. We have seen that families are now living in isolation from each other, and that is also.
Nelson Zulu, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Over 300 traders at Lubamba Market in Lusaka's KAMWALA area have pleaded with President Hakainde Hichilema to revoke a land title that was given to a Chinese national on their trading space. The traders, who on Thursday morning held a peaceful protest, explained that the said Chinese national illegally acquired the said land they have occupied for years, and that he has been working with other officials at the Ministry of Land to backdate the debts to the said title. Meanwhile, Area Councillor Mainda Simata says the named Chinese national has a title to the said land and that his office is limited on how far it can go to help the affected traders. Details are in this report.
These are over 300 traders at Lubamba section of Lusaka's KAMWALA market behind Big Mose shops who have been affected by a notice given to them that they should vacate their trading spaces because the Chinese national has produced a title to the land they have occupied for years.
Private meeting batenga mafoni noenda kuja nondo chitasani nambo chita heba komana gate nambo chita convince kuti imwe mulina option yabili mfunika msankepo tukushene compensate olo mchinese akumangire parody shop ma shops mavera maye parody akatimangira mchinese satipira kukansa manje outcome ngati outcome Chinese abwera ankari kuma shop petiri lero manje so atimangire parody maso za bwa kutichosa mapepa azitiri na hivi
tabe mwanyaliri bakatimangire parody hapa bakaendomanga pa parody tizambolipira zingati 2 pini per month and then tizongala tuma 1 meter if still muni tuma 1 meter bani chimozi mazati batigulisa era wanyeti ambolipira kuri muntu 2 pini era mashopu ni yatu ukanso chilipira every month 125 every Friday chilipira 5.
The traders now seek the intervention of the head of state, President Hakainde Hichilema, who they have called upon to revoke the said license by the Chinese national, which they say was dubiously acquired with the help of some PF officials from the Ministry of Land, and have also claimed that they have the trading rights to the said land.
Bakuti muntu umozi aina ma properties kwa tikarangana mukaenda ku intercity konse kuja maroji yonse antikarangana yaja upeza ni yamu yaure ni muntu umozi isa tomato mashopu wanatipasako na ise ndi empowerment yatu sema youth ndaba otherwise sema youth kubetili benchito sevenza sendenshi watu yameneye
na market yesu kwa tupengela then I market toka ula kwa enda jindi amapepa ngaya tulijisatu iminina inoyo mchawinizi nguba uliha Tongo gubara tuimbira tongo gubamba nyimbo himbi so tulomba ndunya ba president kuti mwimandu swe pali migwahi amulange mashopu manji maningi ali 105 ayo silinga vomele pakati parodi because nikarangana street inazula kudala banipisha bamne nankala nafika ini ninafika ne Zambia ne citizen banipisha ba president mne nilili bapoleka ba Chinese nienda kuti ba president tilila.
Meanwhile, Area Councillor Mainda Simata, when contacted, told this reporter that the matter is above his office and that the named Chinese national indeed has title to the said land, and has advised those affected traders to consider engaging the Ministry of Land and the President, who has the power to revoke a title.
For them to say if you want such property and the right people, there is no way he's going to have it. However, subsequently, that Chinese produced a document now, a land title. And when you know somebody, when they've got the title, that means they've got the rights and ownership to that place. And what they wanted to do was to enforce that ownership of the title by bringing in Belik. And it was proposed by the same Chinese to say that he didn't want to remove those people from there, but he was going to provide the alternative shops. He was going to build makeshift shops for them behind the shop that he was going to build.
These 106 shops have since been earmarked for demolition, while over 300 traders may lose their trading spaces if the said foreign national with a title to the said land moves in and demolishes their shops as per notice that has been given to them. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia Correctional Services Head of Chaplain Reverend Sam Zulu has challenged citizens in the country to be hardworking if the core to value addition and wealth creation is to be actualized. Speaking during the Africa Freedom Day Thursday, Chaplain Zulu says there is need for Zambians to take advantage of the abundant natural resources to transform the nation. Meanwhile, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema led various dignitaries in laying wreaths as the Freedom Statue to commemorate Africa Freedom Day, observed under the theme Acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. More in the following report.
Freedom Day is printed in the hearts of Africans. The content commemorates the founding of the Organization of African Unity, now known as the African Union, on 25th May in 1963. This is a significant imprint of the African resistance to colonialism and economic exploitation. Just like other African countries, Zambia has observed this day under the theme Acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. During the celebrations of the African Freedom Day, Zambia Correctional Services Head of Chaplain Reverend Sam Zulu challenged citizens in the country to be hardworking if the call by Republican President Hakainde Hichilema on the need to steer value addition and wealth creation is to be actualized. Reverend Zulu urges Zambians to take advantage of the country's natural resources and begin to generate wealth.
As cheap raw materials, but the added value and sold them as finished product. This, Mr. President, is resonates very well with the call that you have given the nation of Zambia in many of your speeches, where you have emphasized so much that Zambia is supposed to go into value addition for our products. Indeed, this is the way to go. It's Zambia to position itself as a hub of trade in the African continent. We saw also that China was able to quicken its citizenry to be able to work very hard. Mr. President, sir, I wish to remind Zambians and Zambia this morning that wealth is a creation and a product of hard work. There's no magic in making money.
Meanwhile, the celebration at Freedom Statue saw various citizens flock to the Freedom Statue, and Republican President Hakainde Hichilema led various dignitaries to lay wreaths. After the wreath-laying ceremony at Freedom Statue in Lusaka, the head of state, his delegation and dignitaries proceeded to State House for the Invecha ceremony. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
And historian Professor Bizek Piri said Zambia needs to industrialize if it's to benefit from the continental free trade area. In an interview, Professor Piri says Zambia's industrial sector is weak and that the enactment of the continental free trade area would not benefit Zambia but only other highly industries in African countries. The professor's comment is in line with the 2023 African Freedom Day theme of acceleration of the African continental free trade area implementation. Meanwhile, Zambia United National Freedom Fighter Association Treasurer Mama Betty Chiluba says inasmuch as Africa has attained its freedom, the continent is not economically liberated. Details are in this report.
As per tradition, on the 25th of May each year, the African continent celebrates its Africa Day, and Zambia is not a stranger to this custom. The 2023 Africa Day is being commemorated under the theme Acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. Historian Bizek Piri has however questioned whether Zambia is ready for the African Continental Free Trade Area, considering that the country's industrial sector still remains weak.
If you look at our industries, they are at a very low level. They have not reached a level where we can proudly say we are producing enough, we have excess, and therefore that excess now we are sharing, we are able to export. Yes, free trade at the global, at the regional, the continental level is good, but we must have strong industries. Are we creating industries that can produce things that we can share?
Meanwhile, Zambia United National Freedom Fighter Association Treasurer Mama Betty Chiluba says inasmuch as Africa and Zambia have attained their freedom, economic freedom has not yet been attained, and says much needs to be done to ensure that the economies perform to the expectation of the people.
Independence, we won it already when we fought for this struggle. But what has remained now our enemy of African countries is the development economy. So we have to work very hard to be united with our leaders, with our presidents, the cabinets in every country, and all the citizens, so that we see how best we can put the right strategies like our leaders are doing, are telling us, we get so that we have the development.
And on a lighter note, one of the freedom fighters says he has been blessed with 15 children and 86 grandchildren, all because of the freedom that Zambia and African continent have continued to enjoy, further calling on the Zambian people to support the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema.
In my age, I'm 86 years old, and I've got 15 children, grandchildren 87 years. So I'm very, very, very happy today. I couldn't say much of that. Other bad words? No. Just listen to the government, what President is saying.
While Africa enjoys its freedom and is blessed with many natural resources, much still needs to be done to end the wars that have characterized some African countries, as well as attain its economic freedom. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A sanitation-based non-governmental organization has expressed concern at the poor state of toilets at intercity bus terminus, stating that this needs the urgent attention of the Lusaka City Council, LCC. Speaking to Camnet News, Clean Cities Initiative Chief Executive Director Watts Mwelas notes that most toilets, especially in the male section, are broken down, leaving toilet effluents flowing on the floor. Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council LCC Director of Public Health Victor Kagoli says the Lusaka City Council has taken note of the situation as the matter has been reported. We have details in this report.
Despite being the biggest bus station in Zambia and attracting thousands of travelers both for local and international routes, the state of Lusaka's intercity bus terminus has left many stakeholders less than satisfied. This is after complaints have arisen over poor toilet sanitation and dilapidated infrastructure both at the toilets and around the facility. Videos emerging have reviewed broken down toilets and poor toilet sanitation.
These are the urinals, broken down urinals. You can clearly see urine on the ground. And people are paying for this service. How much are they making every day? Maybe 1,000, 500, I don't know. But they can't repair these things.
This is something that the Clean Cities Initiative, a non-governmental organization led by Watts Mwelas as Chief Executive Officer, has taken up.
As Clean Cities Initiative, we would have urged the Lusaka City Council that they should break that facility and reconstruct a modern one. You see, as the situation stands, Zambia in particular, it will be turning 59 years in the next 4 months or so. So as a result, Lusaka should have really transformed. And when Lusaka transforms, then it means that it will be replicated to other cities in the country. But if Lusaka is in such a state, then it's questionable as to whether the authorities of the management of the facility really care about the people. Secondly, we also take interest in the public health. Remember that Intercity is the international station, but at the same time it's a station which it's a gateway to all the 10 provinces of Zambia. What would happen in such a status if an outbreak broke out in that facility? Someone would get cholera or any dysentery or any other type of disease, and they would travel with it to all other 10 provinces. And you see, infectious diseases, they travel so fast. But by the time you are going to detect those diseases or those symptoms from other parts of the country, it would have already spread.
Camnet News also spoke to Lusaka City Council Director of Public Health, Victor Kagoli, who says while having issued a notice to bus station management for the matter to be corrected earlier in February 2023, the responsibility of instituting punishment for abrogating does not lie under his office.
I'm not very well informed, but I think if you requested the Director of Housing, he will be able to give you, after they received my letter or my report, what have they done to try to mitigate the sanitation situation at that particular place.
Camnet News will engage the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development over the matter. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
In a refectory message to mark Africa Freedom Day, Transparency International Zambia TIZ warns that corruption risks undermining the viability of the African Continental Free Trade Area. This year's Africa Day is under the theme Accelerating the Implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And TIZ Executive Director Maurice Nyambe says the theme is a timely one as it underscores the agency and its significance of corrective efforts for Africans to fully harness the transformative power of the Continental Free Trade Area. However, Transparency International Zambia's Corruption Perception Index shows Africa as the worst performing region in the world when it comes to corruption in the public sector. And Mr. Nyambe is concerned that the current version of the Continental Free Trade Area does not address corruption in a direct and decisive manner, a matter he said needs to be attended to.
As TIZ, we join the rest of the African continent today in commemorating Africa Freedom Day. Now, the theme, which is accelerating the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, is a very topical and important theme because it highlights some of the lengths that Africa has to go to enhance the trade agenda, to enhance the regional integration agenda. And I think that that treaty is particularly very important. But having said that, our concern is that the Continental Free Trade Area does not say much about the mechanisms and instruments that it has embedded within it to address issues of corruption. And we think that it is important for those aspects to be integrated and embedded because in the absence of effective mechanisms that are going to address the corruption problem within Africa, it becomes very difficult for us as a continent to benefit from the value that the Continental Free Trade Area can give us in terms of our trade. So we would like to make a very fervent call to African leaders in general and specifically to the Zambian government in particular that we should push for an integration of specific mechanisms within the Continental Free Trade Area that are going to promote aspects of anti-corruption measures and that are going to promote ways in which the benefits that the treaty offers can actually be protected against misuse, can be protected so that the citizens of Africa can
A consortium of civil society organizations has rejected some provisions in the draft public gathering bill. Non-state actors say the bill still seeks to regulate and control public assemblies rather than to facilitate them in line with international best practices. And now, speaking on behalf of the consortium in Lusaka Wednesday evening at Southern African Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACOD Executive Director Boniface Chembe said the draft bill must be refined as submitted to Parliament. We have details in this report.
While seeming like it was making positive headways in making its way to Parliament, some civil society organizations, CSOs and political parties suggest that the draft public gatherings bill is not ready to make its way to Parliament until some provisions are changed. The Southern African Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACOD, the Governance, Elections, Advocacy, Research Services GEARS Initiative, the United National Independence Party UNIP, and the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD, among other CSOs and political parties, convened Wednesday evening to point out a number of what they termed as red flags in the draft public gatherings bill. SACOD Executive Director Boniface Chembe was speaking on behalf of the CSOs and political parties.
Key provisions from the draft bill stress the control and regulation of the right to public assemblies rather than emphasize the need to facilitate and protect public assemblies. D. The bill has no effective and timely appeal mechanism. This means the public has no remedy to challenge arbitrary decisions by the police. There is no mechanism to control and check the significant powers of the police to protect the fundamental right to peaceful assembly. C. The notification mechanism as described in the draft bill continues to constitute an approval and application process in scope and spirit. The focus of the notification mechanism needs to be on actions of the police that are required in the time frame to help facilitate the assembly.
MMD spokesperson Kefas Mukuka also added his voice.
As Mr. Chembe already alluded to, that time has come and time is now that we need to do away with the current status quo so that we move forward, because the status quo has implicated innocent citizens who have ended up being victimized by the police for lack of understanding of what they're supposed to do.
They have called for the points of concern to be quickly refined and the bill sent to Parliament. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front's MANDEVU constituency member of Parliament Christopher SHAKAFUSWA has been arrested and detained for the offense of trying to incite political party cadres to rise against the Zambia Police Service. Zambia Police Service spokesperson Reha Monga states that Mr. SHAKAFUSWA on 3rd May 2023 in Ibex Hill, Lusaka issued a statement inciting unruly PF cadres to throw stones at police officers who are on duty whilst executing a search warrant. The MANDEVU Member of Parliament is currently being held at Lusaka Central Police Station.
Police in Lusaka have detained Honorable Christopher SHAKAFUSWA, Member of Parliament for MANDEVU constituency. Brief facts of the matter are that on the 3rd of May 2023 in Ibex Hill of Lusaka, the accused was heard issuing a statement inciting unruly Patriotic Front party cadres, instructing them to start throwing stones at the police officers who were on duty whilst executing a search warrant.
You are watching the main news on Camnet TV. Just now we take our first set of commercials. When we get back, we have more local stories. To join us shortly.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus relying undeniable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
The Standing in the Gap team, in conjunction with Francis Miles Ministries International, presents the Prayer Rally Crusade and Overnight, to be held at the Ground of Healing Word International Ministries in Ibex Hill from the 25th to the 26th of May 2023, tagged Rendering the Heavens for National Revival. Don't forget, it's this Thursday, the 25th of May, time from 16 hours till 19 hours, and on Friday, the 26th of May, it's from 17 hours to 20 hours. Henceforth, we continue with an overnight prayer meeting from 20 hours to 06 hours in the morning. Speakers include Apostle Sunday, Pastor Wupesi Nyangwe, and Dr. Francis Miles. Featuring music, Ephraim, Son of Africa, Christine and Tim Reason, Pastor Gift Kaputula, Minister Temwani, Pastor Washi, and many more. You can't afford to miss this. Admission is absolutely free. It's not over until God says it's over. It is fire for fire.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. A non-governmental organization providing financial education to local authorities across the country says investing in the procurement of Constituency Development Fund (CDF) monitoring vehicles is a demonstration that the current administration is committed to achieving prudent utilization of public funds. In an interview, Finjet Money Genius Group Executive Director Reon Konde says monitoring the utilization of CDF is cardinal to curtailing the misuse of public resources. On Wednesday, 24th May 2023, President Hakainde Hichilema commissioned the distribution of CDF monitoring vehicles for all 156 constituencies in the country.
He is quite resolved that each and every activity is not, with some political inclination. I mean, we are serving the Zambian people, and this is what is actually pretty interesting. So we want to state here that I think when something is good, whether you are coming from political right or political wrong, please just appreciate what is being done. Further to this statement, we want to actually urge government that since they have presented up this kind of way of doing things, that CDF
Central Province Minister Credo Nanjua has warned the local authority in Central Province to clean up their operations in the allocation of land in the province. Mr. Nanjua is saddened that rampant illegal land allocation among political parties to unsuspecting members of the public has He has advised residents in the central province to familiarize themselves with the correct procedures for acquiring land to avoid illegal penalties and other inconveniences. Mr. Nanjua has warned all provincial administrators to take heed and avoid allocating land dubiously, as the law will catch up with them soon.
Here in Central Province are complaining of having paid for land to the councils, and yet they have not been given the piece of land. That's exploitation for only 6 months. And on that point, I want to call upon all councils in the province to give a status quo of all those who have paid for land in the past and they have not gotten their pieces of land. I want to know the status quo and what measures they are putting in place to ensure that we are clearing that backlog. If anything, through my provincial secretary, we are going to declare that there should be no land given to new applicants until we clear those who have paid for land in the past. Others paid as well back as 2012, 2018. They are bringing receipts, but they are not accessing their land. And people in offices are comfortably giving new applicants those pieces of land because they have received something. We have to fight corruption. We have to manage.
Transport and Logistics Minister Frank Tayali has challenged both pirate and online taxi drivers to find an amicable way of resolving their differences without engaging in fist fighting over customers. In an interview, Mr. Tayali says it is wrong for pirate taxi drivers to be blocking online taxi drivers from picking up customers from public places when they are also in the business of making money. The Transport Minister also says it is wrong for online taxi drivers to be going into the taxi ranks where pirate taxi drivers are operating to pick up their customers. He says parties need to find a way of working in harmony without commenting on offences that may result in their arrest, further adding that government will not allow lawlessness to prevail in the transport sector. Some online taxi drivers last week complained to Camnet News. Thus, they were being harassed by some pirate taxi drivers at intercity bus terminus whenever they went to pick up customers.
I think that there is a statutory instrument which we drafted, yet to be cleared with the Minister of Justice. I think that this is a new phenomenon that has come to our country. I'm sure we shall be able to refine it. But suffice to say that violence can never be a solution to settling of grievances. And those that are resorting to throwing stones, I think that must be warned not to take the law into their own hands. I think that is wrong. But also, like I said, the clients also that are using these online taxis must also be conscious, okay, of what sort of environment you ought to be in order for you to be able to use online taxis. To avoid these confrontations, I think that let us desist from being at a public place which also has got regular taxis. I think that there is potential for misunderstanding.
We take our last and second commercial break. We'll be right back with the rest of the news.
The Standing in the Gap team, in conjunction with Francis Miles Ministries International, presents the Prayer Rally Crusade and Overnight, to be held at the Ground of Healing Word International Ministries in Ibex Hill from the 25th to the 26th of May 2023. Tagged Rendering the Heavens for National Revival. Don't forget, it's this Thursday, the 25th of May. Time from 16 hours till 19 hours. And on Friday, the 26th of May, it's from 17 hours to 20 hours. Henceforth, we continue with an overnight prayer meeting from 20 hours to 06 hours in the morning. Speakers include Apostle Sunday, Pastor Wupesi Nyangwe, and Dr. Francis Miles. Featuring in music, Ephraim, Son of Africa, Christine and Tim Reason, Pastor Gift Kaputula, Minister Temwani, Pastor Washi, and many more. You can't afford to miss this. Admission is absolutely free. It's not over until God says it's over. It is fire for fire.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back, and now the rest of the news in international news. From the scorching summer heat to war profiteers, the bureaucratic food dragging Sudanese fleeing battles at home have encountered many obstacles, but also help from strangers on the long road to safety in Egypt. Among the hundreds of refugee families waiting at the border, some had no passports. Others would not go further until their husband, brother or son was granted a visa, which women and children are exempted from. Since fighting began on April 15th between the forces of two rival generals, more than 132,000 refugees have arrived in Egypt, the International Organization for Migration said on Wednesday. Here's a roundup of international news.
Hundreds of Sudanese refugee families are waiting at the border with Egypt. Since fighting began on April 15 between the forces of two rival generals, more than 132,000 refugees have arrived in Egypt, according to the International Organization for Migration. Some are reportedly lacking passports, while majority are waiting for visa processing, though they are all optimistic that they will cross this border post into Egypt. I am currently gathering the Sudanese who are displaced from Khartoum and escaped to the north. In the beginning of the war, we hosted them in the northern parts of Sudan, and now we are transporting them to Aswan. The situation is really bad because there are no passports or visas. People are tired and stuck in Halfa. There are no buses. We've been on this trip for 15 days from Sudan to Egypt. More than 1 million others have been displaced internally in Sudan and across the borders of other countries. Many of those who could not flee have hunkered down in their homes without basic supplies.
There are over 1 million displaced persons within Sudan and in the external borders of Sudan. And the situation is, if there is not an immediate ceasefire and cessation of violence and hostilities, the situation is in risk of becoming very dire for the population.
Unlike in other neighboring countries that have been taking in Sudanese refugees, humanitarian operations in Egypt are limited. Cairo refuses to set up refugee camps and instead says the new arrivals are given the right to work and move freely. The embattled Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko on Wednesday vowed to lead a series of rallies dubbed Caravan of Freedom across the West African country. The rallies, he said, will end in the capital Dakar as he travels to face judges who are set to issue a ruling on a rape case that might see him locked out of the presidential race. Where will the finals fight take place? It will take place in Dakar. The strategy we put in place allowed us to foil their plans. It allowed us to gain time, and it allowed us to remobilize the troops throughout Senegal. It's not by saying here in Ziguinchor that we'll be able to finish the fight definitively. The 48-year-old mayor has been charged with rape and making death threats against an employee of a beauty salon in Dakar, accusations that he denies. He plans to return to Dakar by road and turn the 500-kilometer journey into a caravan of freedom, saying later on social media that his convoy will set off for Dakar on Thursday. I ask you to come with me when I return to Dakar. I have decided to go by road to return to Dakar. I will take advantage of this to stop in all the regions along the way to communicate with the people. The public prosecutor had earlier on called for a 10-year prison sentence for rape or a minimum of 5-year term for corrupting youth. Either sentence will legally bar him from contesting the elections.
Speaking in Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital, on Wednesday, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba said Ukraine was very upset that some African countries chose to abstain and called on them to lend Ukraine diplomatic support in the face of Russian aggression. Many African countries have refused to take sides in the European conflict, with several abstaining from votes at the UN General Assembly condemning Russia's invasion.
And we get very upset when some African countries choose to abstain, for example, from the vote. Because what are you abstaining for? You are abstaining from support of independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, all of the principles that you value. But if I look at the latest resolution adopted by the UN General Assembly in February 2023 on restoring peace, lasting peace in Ukraine, 141 countries voted in favor of it. And many African countries did, and Asian and Latin America, once again demonstrating that there is no such division between the South and
Russia
North.
has built a substantial presence in several parts of Africa where Russia private military contractor Wenger is active and recently held joint military drills with South Africa. Russia plans to hold an Africa-Russia summit in July.
And on a lighter note, in sports news, shortly after this little break. The Chipolopolo Legends have beaten Barcelona Legends by 3-0. The goals came courtesy of Collins Mbesuma, Clifford Mulenga and James Chamanga. The social football match was being played at Hero Stadium in Lusaka, and soccer fans turned up in numbers to watch the 2012 Africa Cup winning players and other icons of Zambian football. The opponents were led by fan favorite and former Barcelona star Ronaldinho, who could, however, not manage beat Zambian goalkeeper Kennedy Mwene despite several attempts.
Transpired early on. It was the legends of Barcelona who were intercepted, but that's how Felix Katongo almost made it one for Zambia. Left-footed strike. The upright coming to the rescue of the Barca legends, and Tofunto failing to put that one in the back of the net.
Oh, looks more like a pass here. There's an opportunity, and it's a goal! Collins Mbesuma puts Zambia in the lead. And how about that for that celebration? Oh, capitalizing on a mistake on the Barca defense. And Collins Mbesuma for the African Hurricane, making National Hero Stadium find its voice again. And this is a sellout capacity crowd that has come through here this afternoon into the evening here at the National Hero Stadium. The last time we saw such a crowd, Brian, for me personally in commentary position, was during the 2017 Under-20 games, and it's a goal! 2-0 Zambia leads, and the Chinese celebration from James Chamanga comes through here. Oh, making that run, waiting to get some support, or probably wants to sight where the goalkeeper is. That's a good pass, and it's 3-0 Zambia leads, and it's Clifford Mulenga. The great artist coming through from.
Well, congratulations to the Chipolopolo Legends once again. And on that lighter note, we come to the end of the news this evening. The headlines once again. Police arrest PF MANDEVU Member of Parliament Christopher SHAKAFUSWA. Civil society organizations reject some clauses in the public gathering bill. Traders in LUSAKA'S KAMWALA area urge government to repossess the land bought by an investor. In international headlines, hundreds of Sudanese migrants stuck at border with Egypt. Chipolopolo Legends beat Barcelona Legends. We now look at the Camnet verse for today, coming from Proverbs 22 verse 6. It reads, "Train a child in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn away from it." There you have it. We come to the end of the news. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production and news crew, my name is Louisiana Lupumbwe. It's bye for now. God bless. Good night.